Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is final part 4 of the rear axle restoration. I've been working on my BMW E39 530i Touring. We disconnected the subframe from the vehicle. We stripped everything off it, restored all the components. Then we started the assembly process. And in this final part, I'm going to show you how I'm going to connect the fully assembled rear subframe to the vehicle, connect the brake lines, brake cables, things like that. Yeah, no big deal. We've done 95% of the work, and now let's enjoy this last part. Let's get started. Right guys, this is the moment of truth. We're gonna have to put this brand new freshly assembled rear subframe onto the car, and I'm sorry I'm not working in daylight, but I have plenty of lighting, so hopefully you'll be able to see this in great detail. And yeah, I'm just gonna push the lifting trolley underneath, pump it up, and then hopefully we'll be very close into position to attach these 4 bushes. Have to get them in here, so I have to get these bushes to fit in these areas. So you can see everything is good to go. I've attached the heat shields in the areas where I need to have them in place. Copper pipes, or these are copper, zinc, nickel. So we're literally gonna attach these bolts on all 4 subframe bushes, and then we connect these to the level sensors. That should be us. So hopefully we're good to go. Insert one of these plates. The steel plate is at the front and the rubber backed plate is at the rear. I'm gonna try and lift another couple of centimeters just so I make sure that the bolt is centered. I'm not cross-threading it, so another last lift, just making sure everything is free, nothing is hitting where it shouldn't be, and we should be in position. Now I'm going to install the rubber pallet plate at the back here. Try and start these bolts, even though they're so big, try and start them by hand. Do not use any tools or any power tools until you get a couple of threads on, and same as these ones here at the front. Especially when you're spraying, some paint will get in the threads unless you've covered it. So we're going to do the same on the other side. These are 21mm bolt heads, so we're going to start them with a ratchet. So here we are guys, she is in. Gosh, I've put some effort in this restoration. This has taken a lot longer than anticipated. It's taken me nearly 2 months. Obviously that's not full time, just a few hours here and there, but boy has it been a journey, and is it worth it. So when you just look at underneath, from the heat shields to the properly restored undercarriage, every single bolt and nut, every part has been taken off, replaced or refurbed. If you remember the condition of the diff previously, well, that's in the past. Some amount of work. So in the next steps, we're going to be installing the handbrake cables. This is fairly easy to do, and we're going to tighten bolts and nuts. The first thing we're going to do is, after we install the handbrake cables, to tighten these subframe bolts to the correct torque spec, heat shields, prop shaft, and yeah, it's going to be fun. These airbags, I'll probably have to remove them and then fit them in on the top and then join them at the bottom, or maybe if I loosen up the silicone cap, that will allow me to stretch them up. So either way, it's going to be a fairly easy job. These are not too hard to install. I'm going to show you how to install the handbrake cables in place. When you climb on top, this is actually a better view, just so I can show you what we're doing here. So I'm going to try and pull these out a little bit and then install the nuts. And I do know I have to clean this interior properly after this restoration. You want to pull it up and then loosen it, and that will allow you to screw it even more. I'm gonna leave them like that at the moment, and then when I have everything assembled and the wheels on, then we can do the final adjustment. But I don't want to tighten too much. This is all obviously tightened by hand with my fingers, so I haven't used any spanners yet. Let's go down and continue on with the rest of the project. I'm going to use this socket. You can see there's a channel here which is exactly the same as this diameter. So I will bend it down. I'm going to use a 14mm spanner on the brake hose, and this here is, I thought was 11, on some of them it's 11, but this one is 10. I find the best way to secure the hose to the brake pipe is by adding 2 washers on each side, and they clamp in between this rubber bush here. we'll install these in place between the flex disc and the transmission. Don't forget these are 100 Newton meters, but in most cases you're not going to be able to access the nuts, because if you're going to do it the way I did it with the transmission mount in place, you're going to have to apply a little bit more torque on the bulkheads. But I do believe in my case this is going to be more than enough to apply 100 Newton meters, so I'll go with that. But I'll leave it to you, obviously, if you want to apply maybe another 10% more in your case, if you're again applying it on the head and not on the nut. So let's go ahead and finish off the job. I'm now going to tighten these 13mm nuts here on the center carrier bearing, and torque spec for these nuts is 21 Newton meters. I've got my torque wrench, my medium size torque wrench ready to go, and previously what I did, I marked it with the white paint marker, just the exact location of the bearing, so now I'm in the exact same spot. This is now set up at 21 Newton meters, and that's tightened to spec. Now, last part is going to be these 6 bolts here, 13mm bolts. I'm going to have to do these with a spanner because I just can't put a ratchet there. These are obviously spline bolts, and you don't need to hold them with another spanner. And that's how you properly install a prop shaft on a BMW E39. You're going to apply this technique on all the E39s, probably very similar process on the E38 and most BMWs. In the next step, I'm going to torque these subframe bolts. These take exactly 163 Newton meters, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to replace this bush or this mount on the exhaust here, and I've decided to use the Febi part. It's much more cheaper and it's literally identical as the original one here. And the part number for the Febi part is 27217. I've done this off camera, you've got a little bolt which was completely rusted, so I'm going to use marine grade stainless steel bolt instead. And this screws in here. This screws in here over this plate. So I'm going to put the camera on the stand and I'm going to show you exactly how to fit it. Insert the plate in this orientation. And tighten the bolt. And that's the job done. Sadly, the brand new gaskets that I had purchased, they didn't fit. I went on the website where I got them from and every single gasket was the smaller version. In this case, the internal diameter is 57 millimeters and the full length of the gasket from top to bottom is about 118 millimeters. And the one I got was something like 42 internal, so it's way too small, and it was 96 from top to bottom, so much smaller than what we need here. So I'm gonna have to go to BMW and try and find the gaskets from there, but obviously in the next parts of the restoration I will be restoring the engine, so I have to take the engine out anyway. In order to take the engine out, I still have to disconnect this exhaust from here, so I'm gonna have to replace them next time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment of truth. I've put the bumper together, everything is buttoned up apart from the suspension arms. Obviously you have to tighten these with the weight of the car on the ground. So let's do a cold start and let's get the car out of the garage. If you remember what we were talking about previously, I'm going to tighten all the suspension bolts and nuts with the curb weight of the car on the ground. So I've driven the car on my self-made ramp here. I do a lot of dirty work outside, like sandblasting and things like that, or it's ideal for tightening suspension and just like some quick services where you don't really need to bring the car inside unless it's obviously raining. So yeah, I'm not going to go into crazy detail here, but basically the suspension arms, the ball joints are fine, you can tighten them in place, but the side that attaches to the subframe will have to be tightened with the curb weight on the ground, and also the shocks, I haven't tightened them as well. So the bottom part of the shock, the bottom large bolt, that will need to be tightened with the weight on the ground. So just want to show you this diagram here. This is obviously the Bilstein suspension as we have upgraded to B6 shocks. And the correct torque procedure for a E39 Touring for the bottom bolt is 100 Newton meters. So let's go and do that. I just want to show you the larger of the two arms. I've used my torque wrench here, and this is torque to 60 Newton meters. Is going to be the exact same spec on the smaller of the two, which is this one here, but you've got obviously a camber adjustment here, but it's still the same torque, 60 Newton meters. So I'm not going to show you the second one. That's it, 60 Newton meters. So this is the end of the rear axle restoration process, and I just wanted to highlight the fact that I've marked and tightened every single bolt and nut. Sometimes you'll see something like this. Obviously I've tightened the nut on the other side, as you can see here. So every single bolt and nut has been checked, torque to spec and verified. So I think I've left the best part for the end, test drive, so let's go ahead and do that. So after the initial runs up and down the road, I must say the car feels so amazing to drive. It's so firm, everything feels so tight. Not too firm, as I said previously. My plan wasn't to turn this into a race car. I just wanted to refresh everything and make it just nice and tight the way it was from the factory, with a little bit of improvement from the B6 Bilstein shocks. So yeah, that's just the best upgrade in my opinion that anyone can do. Obviously, if your original shocks are gone, I think common sense is to replace it with Bilstein shocks. Of course, there's many makes and models there on the market. This is just my personal opinion. I went with what I thought was best value for money, and comfort also still retains the sporty feel of the car. And yeah, I hope I can inspire more of you guys that are watching from all over the world. If you have the tools, the time, and you're willing to do something like this, definitely highly recommend it. Go and do it. You will love every single minute of it. Now let's go for another spin, and that will be it. In the next project, this is obviously the end of the rear axle restoration, and the next one is going to be the front suspension, and at some point I will pull the engine out, as there's an awful lot of leaks from the sump and other gaskets that need replaced. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this series, and again, if you do like the content, hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe if you're not a subscriber, hype if you see the hype button on your device, and I'll see you guys in the next one.